Hi everyone, this is David Baxter from webOSroundup. Today we have a special. We're going to be reviewing the HP Veer 4G. It's on AT&T. It's an exclusive. It will be released on May 15th. So that's a little over a week from now, and it will be out for $99 on a 2-year contract. The claim to fame for this phone is how small it is, and we're going to show you how it compares to other phones in size. My hands are small, so my hands aren't doing it justice here, but let's show you some other comparisons here. Here's a pre-2. You can see right next to each other. This is the current flagship device. You can see that it's quite a bit longer, and the thickness is a good bit thinner, even though there is a full keyboard under here, which we'll show in a minute. Let's compare it real quick to the Pixie. It's my wife's poor beat-up Pixie. You can see that they're, again, quite a bit longer. The Pixie is a little thinner. Again, there's no keyboard, but you can see the screens are the same size. And then here's what HP would like you to compare it to. Here's a credit card. Well, it's a grocery card, but it serves the same purpose, same size. It is smaller than a credit card, so it completely disappears. It is thicker, obviously, than a credit card, but it is thinner than, say, a deck of cards. That was their comparison point. So you can see this phone is very small, and it's pretty amazing what they've packed into here. The specs, if we're going to go through those real quick, 800 megahertz processor, which is a little slower than the 1 gigahertz as in the Pre-2. It has a 512 megs of RAM in it. The screen is 320 by 400, which is the exact same as the Pixie. 2.6-inch display. Storage 8 gigs, 6.1 of that is usable. From a connectivity perspective, it has an HSPA Plus radio in it, so that's where AT&T gets the 4G part. Even though you can see here on the H Plus, they don't even call it 4G inside the phone. It's not 4G, but it is much faster than, say, normal 3G. You also have Wi-Fi, B, G, and N, so that's a nice addition. The N will make it much faster. On the back side here, you have your camera. It's 5 megapixel. It also does video. Another thing from a specs perspective is it has a mobile hotspot, so you can hook up, say, your touchpad if you have one of those later on. You'll be able to use that as its internet connection. So those are the basic specs. Let's walk around the phone a bit. First thing you're going to see here is a big power button. Most phones hide the power button pretty well. You can see here on the Pre-2, it's barely showing up at all. It's black. They don't want to see it. On the Veer, they kind of went another way. It's shiny. It's much thicker. It sticks out a lot more. So it's kind of old school that way. And same here with the volume rocker. You can see here that I'm not volume. I'm sorry. This is the silent mode HP likes to use. The volume rocker is over here. It's silver as well. You can see it's all soft touch. It's a very solid feeling device, which I'll show you in a second. Right here is the magnetic connector. Now here is, in my opinion, the weakest link of the entire phone. If you see when we're walking around here, there is no headphone jack or USB port, and those are both being taken up by right here. What you can see is the headphone jack looks like this. It's an adapter. Fits on the little magnetic piece. It actually goes pointing down. And it snaps pretty well. I mean, it's on there pretty good. If it were in your pocket, you probably would knock it off. If you're working out or something like that, that's something to keep in mind. It definitely is kind of a interesting choice. I mean, it's pretty, from an engineering perspective, it's pretty impressive what they pulled off here. Here is the charging connector. Again, it's pretty beefy. You can hear it clicking into place. It's not going to fall off on accident. But it's still it is something that's very different. Would be a consideration whenever you're thinking about getting the phone. So that is the headphone jack and the magnetic connector. Finally, we have a lanyard connection if you want to be Flava Flav and put it around your neck. Here's the back, HP logo, AT&T logo, and here's the keyboard. The keyboard is actually really impressive. I'll load up notes here real quick. Just so you can see me typing something random. I showed this phone to several people throughout the day, and the first thing they said was, wow, this is small. And then as soon as they started using it, they were impressed by how good the keyboard is. It's hard to show you why it's working. It's not going to show across the video. It's the way it feels. Each key, you could feel them each individually under your fingers. So I can type pretty well. I'm used to the Pre 2 keyboard, so it is roomier. But this is my wife's Pixie. You can see the keyboards here. This one's a little curved. It actually might even be a little more narrow. If it's probably just about the same size. But there's something about the way that they made the keys raise up that they feel really nice under your fingers, and so you can type pretty well, much better than you would expect. If you've never used a keyboard like this, if you've never used a Pre before, then there definitely would be a learning curve. But it is impressive what they've been able to pull out in terms of the keyboard. A very good engineering feat here. A friend of mine who actually hates small keyboards, he got rid of a BlackBerry for that. He tried this out, and he actually liked this better than the BlackBerry. Now, obviously, that's a matter of personal preference, but I thought that was a pretty good endorsement. It also works with the touchstone. I have the unplugged touchstone here. We'll get this guy over here. He's connected magnetically over there. He sits here. Obviously, that's going to come more into play with the touchpad. We believe that this will be able to do the touch to share technology. I don't believe that's been confirmed yet, but that will definitely, hopefully, play a big role in that. So it works well with the touchstone. There's no, the original Pre, you had to have a special back. This is just the standard back. Camera, again, as we mentioned, there's no flash here. That was another corner they had to cut for the size purposes. So keep that in mind. It's a 5-megapixel camera, so it's a nice little camera. Just like most of the webOS phones, though, you need a good amount of light, especially since there is no flash. But it starts to get grainier and grainier as the light goes down. So that's something to keep in mind there. Another weak link is the loudspeaker. I'm going to show you here. I'm going to pull out a little U2, my favorite band here. I'm going to load up the MP3 player, and you will see here that the loudspeaker is a little bit leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not very loud is the problem, and when you do get it loud enough, as you'll see here in just a moment, it will be distorted, and I think that's a obviously a hit or miss sort of deal here. So here's your little demo for it. We'll pull out a little U2, my favorite band. Always like to plug them. So it's loading here real quick. Okay, so I'm turning it up. I'm about halfway right now. Okay, you can see now that's full and it's distorted. So is it going to work as a speakerphone? Sure, but it's definitely not going to be rocking your neighbors or anything like that. And you don't really need it to. But I wasn't as impressed. I mean, the other phones get louder and that much easier. So I don't mean to dog the phone because I really do like it. I think it definitely fits a niche that they're going for. It definitely is a well-built phone. And like for instance, the build quality. Like here's my Pre 2 again. My Pre 2, I've only had it for a little while, and it's already a little shaky. Now I don't have a full-on Oreo effect going on here, but it's a little creaky. You can feel it moving when I pull it up around. You can see it kind of separating there. So you do that to the Veer, and there's nothing here. This thing is solid. You go up and down. There's no Oreo effect at all. This is a very solidly built design phone. The design is solid. It's just well built. It's got a heft to it that even with its small size, you can tell this. I mean, is it a brick? No. Is it you gonna be able to drop it? No, it's not ruggedized or anything. But it's well made, and I don't think any of the build qualities that have plagued Palm and HP in the past are going to be a factor in here at all. Now let's get to the real shining spot. It's the performance. Now you would think with only an 800 megahertz processor that it might not be as fast as say the Pre 2 over here, but in my experience it's actually faster, and I say that only because of this little HSPA. So if I start loading up a lot of stuff, I'll put up the camera and I'll throw up a nav. Here's a calendar. When it comes to this stuff, it's going to hold its own, and it's going. The 800 megahertz and the 512 megs of RAM are really going to. I haven't used this, so that's just going to say, "Hey, welcome." But I'm just throwing up a bunch of random stuff. It's going to be able to hold lots of apps. I've had dozens at a time. That no problem. It hasn't had any problems whatsoever. If I want to pull up photos, there's Newsroom. Now I can't show you any PDK apps because currently they're not available. They will be as soon as before launch. Just right now, since I have it early, they're not up and running yet. There's stacks and all that good stuff. So if I were to go back over, let me pull up the web here real quick. If I were to go to AT&T and then I want to go to another link real quick, it's going to do the stack thing. I'm just letting them all load up here. You can see it's going pretty well. I mean, no hiccups here. You can see it loads pretty quickly. What it is that little faster radio. I did a speed test, and we're going to have a video showing this very particular thing. It is downloading at 5 megabits down and uploading at 1 megabit up. That's on par with my home connection here. So, I mean, when everything is connected to the web, obviously webOS, then it really does make a difference. Your emails load faster, your news feeds all run faster. And that's simply because it can connect to the internet faster. Again, that's not specific to the Veer hardware. It's just simply that it's on a faster connection. But it does make a noticeable difference. Since this is exclusive to AT&T, everyone's going to be getting that. So this isn't LTE or anything like that, but it doesn't need to be in this case. So that's been really impressive for that. The battery is the other shortcut that they took. It's non-removable. It has a 900 mAh rating for those techies out there. The original Pre, to give you some comparison, had 1150. So it's a smaller battery. Now it's a smaller screen, smaller phone. So, I mean, it doesn't need as much power. And I beat it up pretty good today. I haven't done a full battery test, but I beat it up pretty hard today. And it lasted the full day. So I think you could rest assured that it's going to give you a full day, but you're probably going to have to charge it. The one concern I have with the non-removable part is that my Pre, after a year to 15 to 18 months, the Pre could hardly hold a charge because the battery was just so poor. But I'm hoping that this will not be an issue long term for this. But if it has that same issue, then you're going to be stuck because you can't replace this battery. So that's something to keep in mind. One last thing to show off, I can show off, but call quality, just making a standard phone call. This is a phone after all. I called several people, and they all said the call quality was really good, and they sounded really good to me. You'd think, I mean, it does kind of look like Zoolander's phone whenever you put it up to your ear because it is so tiny. But you would think that your mouth is far away from the mic, you wouldn't be able to pick it up very well. That is not a problem at all. One other thing to mention about the quality of the construction, this is Gorilla Glass, so it won't scratch nearly as easily, although our Cliff will tell you can scratch Gorilla Glass. So overall, let's just get down to the brass tacks here. Overall, do I think the Veer is a good phone? Yes. Do I think that they had to cut corners to make it this small? Absolutely. So it's kind of one of those things. If you really want a small phone, I don't think anything's going to beat this. It really is a top tier phone in terms of what it can do, simply because it's webOS, and it does it in a form factor that no one else is anywhere close. But if a lot of the people want a really big phone, obviously you're not in the market for this. Where I think it's really interesting is when you talk about pairing the Veer here with a big old touchpad. So you can put this in your pocket, forget it's there completely, and if they do what they've talked the Pre 3 will do, it'll connect through Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to your touchpad. So if you get a text message here, it'll show up on your touchpad. That makes a really compelling argument to have a really small device that you can use with your really big tablet. So I think that's an interesting play. Will it do well? I think that depends on the gamble of whether or not people really do want a smaller phone. I think there is a market for that. How big it is remains to be seen. But it is just one of multiple devices that are coming out. You have the Pre 3, which has a big old 4-inch screen on it, and then you also have the rumored slab phone that will also be coming out supposedly. So there's going to be a lot of form factors, and I think this will fit. webOS shines very well on this. It performs really well. So I think if you are one of those people who are looking in that niche, I think it's definitely worth looking at. So this has been a review of the HP Veer 4G, and this has been webOS Roundup. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.